Hey everyone, this is Coach Mark. I hope everyone is doing amazingly well. This week's video is going to be short and sweet, hopefully, right? This past weekend, I had the opportunity to speak to a group of entrepreneurs and upcoming entrepreneurs in Portland, Jamaica. And, essentially, I just shared with them a little bit about my story so they can have an understanding of where it is that I come from. And I also shared with them my 10 rules to success. Rules that I've used and have been able to attain success in my life. And it just so happens that they're the same rules that most other people that I study have used and attained success in their lives. And there's two things that I talked about that really kind of stands out to me right now that I said that I want to share. And if you want to hear a little bit about my speech, I actually recorded this week's Power and a Half Hour, and I talked almost the same things that I talked about in the speech on this week's Power and a Half Hour. So make sure that you go back and listen to that, or trust me, I start off and I talk for about maybe 15 or 20 minutes about my personal story, and then I go into my rules of success. And I think, to me personally, it's probably one of the best ones. I think that this one had really a lot of great information and a lot of just me in it. This wasn't me talking about somebody else's rules to success. This was me talking about my rules to success. So you kind of get my perspective from it. But anyway, as far as the two things that kind of stood out to me that I wanted to share with you guys this week is one, and this one I also shared with my oldest son. I think a lot of times we all have the tendency to follow what the crowd is doing, and we look for the crowd for direction. It's so funny. They've had videos. I remember watching this show called Brain Games, and they showed how people will just end up invariably just following other people. They did an experiment in a mall, and they had like one guy standing in the middle of the mall, like to signify a line, and before you knew it, you had like this whole bunch of people that were standing in this line, and they had no idea. When they interviewed them after, they had no idea what it was or why they were standing up in this line. They just saw everyone else doing it and they followed suit. And I'm sure that we've all been guilty of that. Sometimes if I'm like somewhere in a deserted place and I'm lost and I have no idea where to go, and then you see cars driving in a particular direction, it's easy to say, well, you know what, let me follow suit and follow them because they're going somewhere. And hopefully that'll be the same place that I'm going. But that's essentially it. Just because they're going somewhere and the crowd, you see a whole line of cars, a crowd going in a particular direction, that doesn't mean that they're going to be going to the place that you're going to be going to. So sometimes it just makes a little bit more sense to stop, collect your thoughts, and try to figure out exactly where it is that you're at and where you're trying to go to. Because if not, you're just going to be following the herd. And as we know, like if you're a pig and you're following the herd of other pigs, or you're a cow and you're following the herd of other cows, right? It'd be easy to fall in line and follow them. But guess what? 9 times out of 10, the herd is going towards the slaughterhouse and they're going to get slaughtered. And you don't want to get slaughtered. So you need to, for any decision that I make now, especially any major decision, not try. I sit down and think about it for myself. And, I don't, I look at what everyone's doing. I look at the whole big picture, but I make the best decision for me. And I think that that's what we all need to do. Not just follow the herd, because once again, the herd might not be going to where you want to go to. The herd might be going to the slaughterhouse. And guess what? You're trying to stay alive, so you don't want to necessarily follow the herd. So you got to sit down, look at everything that's happening, and make the best possible decision for you. The next thing that I wanted to share with you guys today is one of the questions that I asked the crowd is if they knew the difference between a wish and a goal, right? You always see a lot of people talking about, they're going to become this, they want to become a millionaire, this, that, and the third, or it's their goal to make X amount of money, in whatever period of time. But a lot of times, and people think that this is them setting their goals, and really it's not. The difference between a wish and a goal is that a goal has a plan, right? A goal has some sort of a plan of action, and it also has a deadline. A wish is just saying. I mean, I could sit here and say, I wish, my goal is to make $1 billion, or it's the same thing as me saying my wish is to make $1 billion. If I don't have a plan as to how I'm going to actually do it, then it's just a wish. It's not even a goal. So I challenge you all that as you sit there, and I know you guys are writing out, because you know, if you don't have anything, then you're definitely not going to go anywhere. So if you do have goals and you sat down and written out your goals, make sure that you have some sort of plan of action for every one of those goals. If not, then you don't have a sheet of goals. You don't have a goal list. You have a wish list, right? And hopefully, and essentially you're hoping that Santa will come and deliver your wish, because if you don't have a plan of action, then that's the best chance that you're going to get it for Santa Claus to come and actually deliver your wish list to you. All right. So make sure, and I've talked so much over the last year about goals and goal setting, and so there's so many different techniques, and you can search on the internet for different techniques on how to go about setting goals and whatnot. But make sure that you just don't write down a list full of wishes, right? You want to make sure that every single goal that you have a plan of action and a deadline. And you know what? It doesn't matter if you make the dead. Sometimes we miss the deadline, and that's all right, because maybe there was a little bit more to it than we actually thought. But at least if you set a deadline, you made up in your mind that, okay, I got to get this done, and it kind of gives you a little priority in making sure that you get done what you need to get done, and you're taking action every single day. And remember what I said. I said this maybe a few weeks ago. If you just take one step towards your goal and not wish, you take one step towards your goal every single day, right? At the end of a year, you'll be 365 steps closer. Now, I don't know how many steps. Your goal might be 1,000 steps. It might be 10,000 steps. It might be 366 steps. Who knows how many steps is going to take to get to your goal. But I can promise you this: as long as you're moving toward that direction, you will ultimately accomplish that goal. But if you don't take no steps, then think about it. It just makes all the sense in the world. If you take no steps toward the goal, you're never going to get there. All right, unless Santa comes by and picks you up in his sleigh with his reindeers and Rudolph, and takes you there, which I don't know if that's really going to happen. All right, well, thank you much, and until next week.